Hello my friends and welcome back for another Brutus Monroe video. Today we're going to be using some cool products. This is the Cat Life, and if you know me, you know I'm all about that. We're also going to be using the Fishbone stencil. I have some Sweet Sentiment laser cuts, some sidewalk cardstock, and then we also have some surface sprays in the color Cabbage and Jack-o'-lantern. These are great. You definitely want to make sure that you are shaking the stew out of them to get that mixing ball going before you start spraying. So I've got this in my splatter box. I'm going to put the stencil over the top of that sidewalk cardstock, and then I'm going to spray the cabbage after I've shaken it like crazy. You're going to spray that all over that, and I'm going to show you a little trick here. After I've sprayed, and I've obviously sprayed a lot because I want to make sure it gets through that stencil. And it's not going to be a super crisp image, but that is okay. Definitely wipe off your nozzle before you put everything away. You don't want to potentially clog your nozzle. I've never had that happen. But I'm going to bring in some more cardstock. We're going to see if we can make a few more backgrounds. I'm not going to make anything with them today, but I'm going to show you that with all that I sprayed on there, because I don't want a bit of it to go to waste if I can help it, I'm going to make a few more backgrounds. So I just put that over some lunch bag cardstock. And then I'll set that off to the side to dry. And you can see that we still have plenty of spray on there. So I'm going to spritz that with water. And then I'm going to take some watercolor cardstock and I'm going to put that right over the top. And then I'll pull that away. And I've got another background. And then there's even more on there. So we're going to spray even that much more water on there. It's going to dilute it a bit more. And it's even going to lighten the surface spray. But you're going to see that it turns out pretty good too. I like it, so I'm going to save these for something else. I'll go clean up my mess, and I'll come back, and I want to show you the 4 backgrounds that I ended up getting from the one stencil that I sprayed on. I love it. I just am super impressed. So I'll set those off to the side. I can make cards with those later. And we'll work with the one that I first made. All right, so moving on to our laser cut. I think these might be out of stock at the moment, but I will have them linked down below. Anyway, I have poured some paint on there, just some white paint. And I'm just going to paint my laser cut. These came from an old inspiration box that I had a few left over. I love these. They're great. And the laser cuts in the store are fantastic. There's so many of them and there's so many options for those. So I'm going to just keep painting my background. You can tell that I obviously have some brush strokes, but the more I work with it, and I'm going to use a paper piercer to hold it down, the brush strokes go away. And then we're left with this white speech bubble, which is so cool. I am going to heat set that with my heat tool because it's starting to curl just a little bit, but because this is a chipboard, it's easily, put back into its shape. So I'm not concerned about that. And then I'm going to stamp all over it. So from the Cat Life set, there is this meow, 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 which is perfect. I'm going to stamp that all over the speech bubble. And I'm using my Raven Detail ink. Clearly, I am not straight on how I'm stamping, which is not a big deal. I don't care. It doesn't need to be perfect. I'm just stamping it down, just kind of staggering the words. And because I'm stamping over some paint, this ink is going to stay a little bit wet for a little bit longer than it normally would. But we'll fix that too. So I'm stamping that meow, meow, meow all over that speech bubble. And then we're actually going to take the speech bubble and we're going to cover it with some Icicle embossing powder, which is just a clear embossing powder by Brutus Monroe. And because it's clear, I don't care if it gets on the background. So obviously I didn't use a magic powder bag or anything like that. And it's kind of neat because it'll give this texture to it as well. So I've stamped that all over. I've covered it with the Icicle, and I'm just going to heat set that till that is smooth and melted. And I love how that looks. So it's got this really nice little shiny bit. It adds texture, and it's a lot of fun. So there it is. And I'll pick up my mess, and then I decide I want to add some splatters to my background. So now that this is fairly dry, I'm going to take the lid off of my jack-o'-lantern surface spray and then just splatter that all over that background. And then I'm going to stamp my little kitty onto some cardstock with my detail ink. And then I'm just going to use my alcohol markers to color these in. And surprise, surprise, I'm not coloring this like a Siamese. I know, those of you who follow me and know me, you're probably shocked. But I just really wanted to go with the orange. So I'm kind of covering him like Heathcliff. I don't know if you remember him. All right, so a little side story. My cat, as I was coloring this, if you follow me on Instagram at all, you will notice that like little over a week ago, I had posted a video of my cat like clicking at a cardinal outside. And then he, you know, kind of lost interest with that because the cardinal flew away. And then later on, I hear this thing right outside my office door. It's like zzz, zzz, and I look around and there's Max. He has gotten a wasp. I don't know how the wasp got in. I'm assuming it was because my husband was smoking some meat, so he was going in and out. But that was a wasp, and Max had killed it, and he was angry that I had taken the wasp away from him. So he was still out hunting at that point. And these are indoor cats, so you just can't take the killer out of the cat, I guess. All right, I did put a little bit of that surface spray onto my glass media mat, and I've got a paintbrush, and I'm just kind of putting that all around the edges of my speech bubble just to add a little bit of color and a little bit of interest. And then I'm even going to paint the bottom part of my cardstock because I wanted it to match perfectly with the orange splatters all over. So I'll heat set all of that just to make sure it's good and dry. And then I'm going to stamp the words thank you on my surface spray. And I'm even going to use the little the little parentheses that go around it, so it's like meow 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 meow, and obviously what it means is thank you. And then I'm going to trim that down, put a little bit of Brutus Monroe foam tape on the back, and then I'll stick that onto my speech bubble, trying to make sure I have it in a good place. And then we'll start arranging how we're going to put things on there. I put some foam tape behind my cat, and just going to peel off all the release paper on the back of that. And then we'll get our card base ready. Our card base is some Not Your Mama's heavyweight cardstock that I scored at 4.5 or 4.25 inches. This is a side folding A2 size card. And then we'll use some liquid glue to adhere down our card panel to our card base. And then we're even going to use that same liquid glue to adhere down our speech bubble. I love that sidewalk cardstock because it just gives this little bit different than white. It's just a little bit subtle, and so that our speech bubble is really going to pop on there, especially with the orange. And then we'll put our little kitten down below. And now it just sort of looks like he's floating, so I did decide to make a ground just using some hickory smoke Distress Oxide ink on some cardstock. And then I will heat set that till that is dry. And then I'll use a little bit of liquid glue. I'll put some at the bottom of my card, the top of my panel, and then I'll stick that down, and then I'll trim off all of the excess. So now it looks like he's just sitting there and not just floating. But I'll put that into my guillotine trimmer so that I have a nice even cut, because I don't always cut straight. All right, and then we're going to stamp our cat on the inside, and I'm going to use that leftover piece of the gray for some ground on the inside. I'll put that down with some liquid glue and trim off the excess. But that is going to do it, folks. There's our card, a fun little thank you from the cat. If you liked this video, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you so much for stopping by.